Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most mysterious and fascinating cities of the ancient world, Mohenjo Daro. Imagine streets laid out in perfect grids, homes with private wells, and huge public baths where people gathered for rituals and daily life. This city was way ahead of its time, with advanced planning, trade networks, and even a mysterious script we still can't read today. But despite all its brilliance, Mohenjo Daro long before the rise of Rome, before the pyramids of Egypt had fully faded into legend, and long before written history could clearly explain humanity's earliest steps toward civilization, a vast and sophisticated city flourished along the banks of the Indus River. This city, now known as Mohenjo Daro, stands as one of the greatest enigmas of the ancient world. Buried for thousands of years beneath layers of silt and sand, its rediscovery in the 20th century forced historians, archaeologists, and scholars to rethink everything they believed about early human societies. Mohenjo Daro was not a primitive settlement struggling to survive. It was a carefully planned urban center, astonishingly advanced for its time, and yet it vanished without leaving behind clear answers. Its silence is its greatest mystery. The story of Mohenjo Daro begins not with kings or conquerors, but with the land itself. The Indus River, one of the great river systems of the ancient world, flowed generously through what is now modern-day Pakistan. Its seasonal floods enriched the soil, allowing agriculture to thrive and communities to grow. Around 2600 BCE, during what historians call the mature Harappan phase of the Indus Valley Civilization, Mohenjo Daro emerged as a major urban hub. It was not alone. Cities like Harappa, Dhalavira, and Lothal formed a vast network of settlements that stretched across nearly 1 million square kilometers. Yet Mohenjo Daro remains the most iconic among them, both for its scale and for the unanswered questions it presents. Unlike many ancient civilizations, Mohenjo Daro left behind no grand monuments glorifying rulers, no towering temples dedicated to named gods, and no long inscriptions praising military victories. Instead, what archaeologists found were streets laid out in precise grids, standardized bricks, complex drainage systems, and residential buildings designed with remarkable uniformity. This absence of obvious royal or religious propaganda is deeply puzzling. It suggests a society organized not around visible kingship or centralized religious authority, but around civic order, planning, and collective responsibility. Such an idea challenges traditional assumptions about how early civilizations developed. The modern world first became aware of Mohenjo Daro in the early 1920s, during the period of British colonial rule in the Indian subcontinent. Archaeologists working for the Archaeological Survey of India, including R.D. Banerjee and later Sir John Marshall, began excavations at a site locals referred to as Mohenjo Daro, meaning Mound of the Dead. Even the name carried an eerie sense of forgotten tragedy. As the earth was slowly removed, brick walls emerged, followed by streets, houses, wells, and public structures. What lay beneath was not a ruin of chaos, but a city frozen in time. One of the most striking features of Mohenjo Daro is its urban planning. The city was divided into distinct sections, often described as the citadel and the lower city. The citadel, built on a raised platform, likely served important public or administrative functions. Here stood the Great Bath, one of the most famous structures of the Indus Valley Civilization. Constructed with finely fitted bricks and sealed with bitumen to make it watertight, the Great Bath suggests ritual bathing or ceremonial purification. Yet no definitive evidence explains exactly how it was used or what beliefs it represented. This ambiguity is a recurring theme in Mohenjo Daro's story. The lower city, where the majority of the population lived,
reveals an extraordinary commitment to sanitation and urban comfort. Almost every house had access to a private or shared well. Wastewater flowed through covered drains beneath the streets, a level of infrastructure that would not appear again in many parts of the world until the Roman era, nearly 2,000 years later. This attention to cleanliness implies a society that valued hygiene, order, and public health. It also raises questions about governance. Who planned this city? Who enforced building standards? And how was such coordination achieved without obvious symbols of centralized power? Artifacts recovered from Mohenjo Daro deepen the mystery rather than resolve it. Seals carved from steatite depict animals, mythological creatures, and symbols, accompanied by short inscriptions written in the Indus script. This script remains undeciphered despite decades of study. Without the ability to read these inscriptions, historians are locked out of the civilization's own voice. We do not know their names for themselves, their cities, their gods, or their leaders. Every interpretation must rely on material evidence alone, leaving room for speculation and debate. Among the most famous discoveries is the small bronze figurine known as the Dancing Girl. Barely 4 inches tall, she stands with one hand on her hip and a confident posture that seems almost modern. Her existence suggests artistic expression, metalworking skill, and a cultural appreciation for performance or ritual. Equally compelling is the statue often called the Priest King, a bearded figure draped in a patterned garment. Though the title is speculative, the statue hints at social roles that are still poorly understood. Were there priests, leaders, or elites whose power was expressed subtly rather than through monumental architecture? Trade played a significant role in Mohenjo Daro's prosperity. Archaeological evidence shows that the Indus Valley Civilization engaged in long-distance trade with Mesopotamia, Persia, and possibly regions as far as Central Asia. Indus seals have been found in Mesopotamian cities where the civilization was referred to as Melucha. Goods such as beads, pottery, metals, and textiles likely moved along river and sea routes. This level of economic integration suggests not isolation, but active participation in the ancient global exchange. Yet for all its sophistication, Mohenjo Daro left behind no clear record of warfare. Weapons are relatively scarce, and there is little evidence of fortifications designed for defense against large-scale military threats. This absence has led some scholars to propose that the Indus Valley Civilization was unusually peaceful. Others caution that peace cannot be assumed simply from a lack of weapons. Still, the contrast with contemporaneous civilizations, such as those in Mesopotamia and Egypt, is striking. Mohenjo Daro appears to have prioritized stability and civic life over conquest and domination. As remarkable as its rise is, the greatest mystery of Mohenjo Daro lies in its decline. By around 1900 BCE, the city was gradually abandoned. There is no clear evidence of a single catastrophic event that destroyed it. No widespread burn layers suggest massive invasion. No definitive mass graves point to sudden annihilation. Instead, signs indicate a slow deterioration, declining building quality, changes in pottery styles, and reduced urban maintenance. This gradual fading raises profound questions. Why would a civilization capable of such advanced planning and organization simply disappear? Early theories proposed dramatic explanations, including invasion by Indo-Aryan tribes, or even speculative ideas involving natural disasters of immense scale. Some early excavators misinterpreted skeletons found in the streets as evidence of sudden massacre, but later studies showed these interpretations were flawed. Modern scholarship favors more complex explanations, involving environmental change, shifting river patterns, climate instability, and economic disruption. However, no single theory fully explains the abandonment of Mohenjo Daro. The silence of Mohenjo Daro is perhaps its most haunting feature. Without deciphered texts, without clear historical records, the city speaks only through bricks, streets, and artifacts. Each discovery answers one question while raising several more. Who governed this city? What beliefs guided its people? How did they view life, death, and the universe? And why did such a well-organized society fail to adapt to the challenges it faced? Mohenjo Daro forces modern humanity to confront uncomfortable truths about civilization itself. Progress does not guarantee permanence. Advanced infrastructure does not ensure survival. Even the most carefully planned societies can vanish, leaving behind only fragments and questions. In this way, Mohenjo Daro is not merely an ancient city, it is a mirror reflecting the fragility of human achievement. As we begin this journey into the mystery of Mohenjo Daro, it is important to remember that what we are exploring is not merely the past, but the limits of our understanding. Each brick laid by its builders carries a story we have yet to fully hear. Each undeciphered symbol is a voice waiting to be understood. In the parts that follow, we will delve deeper into the city's architecture, society, religion, technology, and the many theories surrounding its fall. The sands may have buried Mohenjo Daro for thousands of years.
To truly understand the mystery of Mohenjo Daro, one must walk its streets, not with modern feet, but with imagination guided by archaeology. Unlike the winding, organic layouts of many ancient towns, Mohenjo Daro was built with striking precision. Its streets followed a grid pattern, intersecting at right angles, dividing the city into clearly defined blocks. This level of urban planning suggests foresight, mathematical understanding, and centralized coordination. It was not the result of gradual, unplanned growth, but of deliberate design. Such order raises immediate questions. Who planned this city, and how was such planning enforced across generations? The city's streets varied in width depending on their function. Main avenues were broad enough to allow carts and heavy movement of goods, while smaller residential lanes branched off into quieter neighborhoods. This hierarchy of roads indicates an understanding of traffic flow and urban efficiency. Even more remarkable is the consistent orientation of the streets, aligned roughly north to south and east to west. This uniformity implies standardized surveying techniques and shared architectural principles across the entire Indus Valley Civilization. At the heart of Mohenjo Daro's construction was the brick. Unlike many ancient cultures that relied on stone or mud alone, the builders of Mohenjo Daro used baked bricks in standardized proportions. These bricks followed a consistent ratio, allowing them to fit together seamlessly across different structures. Such standardization suggests not only technical skill, but also regulation, perhaps rules governing construction practices. The widespread use of baked bricks, which required controlled kilns and significant fuel resources, further indicates a highly organized production system. The city was divided into two major zones, the Citadel and the Lower City. The Citadel, elevated on a massive mud brick platform, dominated the landscape. Its raised position protected it from flooding and symbolically separated it from everyday residential life. Yet unlike citadels elsewhere, this area does not show clear evidence of royal palaces or temples dedicated to named gods. Instead, it housed large public buildings whose purposes remain debated. This absence of overt political or religious monuments challenges conventional models of ancient urban centers. The most iconic structure within the citadel is the Great Bath. Measuring approximately 12 meters long and 7 meters wide, it was constructed with exceptional care. Its floor and walls were sealed with bitumen to prevent leakage, and staircases descended into the pool from both ends. Surrounding rooms suggest preparation or ritual activity.
The Great Bath is widely believed to have had ceremonial or religious significance, possibly related to purification rites. However, without written records, its true function remains speculative. What is clear is that water held deep symbolic and practical importance in Mohenjo Daro. Adjacent to the Great Bath were large halls and granary-like structures. Some scholars interpret these as assembly halls or administrative buildings, while others suggest they were used for storage or redistribution of goods. The scale of these buildings implies collective activities involving large groups of people. Yet again, there is no clear evidence of a ruling elite occupying these spaces. Power, if it existed, seems to have been exercised subtly, embedded within systems rather than displayed through monuments. Descending from the citadel into the lower city reveals the true marvel of Mohenjo Daro's architecture, its residential planning. Houses were built from the same standardized bricks and varied in size, suggesting differences in wealth or social status. However, even the larger homes did not display excessive luxury. Most houses were inward-facing, centered around courtyards that provided light, ventilation, and privacy. This design reflects an understanding of climate and social norms, prioritizing comfort and modesty over outward display. One of the most astonishing features of these homes is their sanitation system. Many houses had private bathrooms connected to covered drains that ran beneath the streets. Wastewater flowed into larger drainage channels, which were regularly maintained through access points. This level of urban sanitation was unparalleled in the ancient world. While other civilizations disposed of waste in open streets or rivers, Mohenjo Daro engineered a system that separated clean water from waste, protecting public health. Such infrastructure implies not only technical knowledge, but also civic discipline and shared responsibility. Wells were another defining feature of the city. Hundreds of brick-lined wells have been discovered, strategically placed throughout residential areas. This ensured easy access to fresh water for daily activities. The abundance of wells suggests that water management was decentralized, reducing dependence on a single source. It also indicates a society that valued equality of access, at least in basic necessities. Water once again emerges as the lifeblood of Mohenjo Daro's urban existence. The absence of monumental temples or palaces does not mean the city lacked social organization. Instead, it points to a different model of urban life, one where authority may have been distributed among councils, administrators, or guilds, rather than concentrated in a single ruler. The uniformity of housing and infrastructure suggests social cohesion and shared standards. While inequality likely existed, it was not expressed through extreme architectural contrasts. Flooding was a constant threat to Mohenjo Daro due to its proximity to the Indus River. Archaeological evidence shows that the city was rebuilt multiple times, with new layers constructed atop older ones. Streets were raised, platforms reinforced, and structures repaired. This resilience demonstrates long-term planning and adaptability. Rather than abandoning the city after disasters, its inhabitants chose to rebuild, indicating strong attachment to place and community. However, these repeated reconstructions also hint at growing challenges. Over time, the quality of construction declined. Later buildings used less carefully made bricks, and drainage systems were not maintained as meticulously. This gradual deterioration suggests strain, perhaps from environmental changes, economic pressures, or population shifts. The architecture itself becomes a silent record of a society under stress. Another intriguing aspect of Mohenjo Daro's architecture is what it lacks: defensive walls designed for warfare. While the citadel's elevation provided some protection, there is little evidence of massive fortifications or military structures. This absence reinforces the idea that large-scale conflict was not a defining feature of the city's existence. Whether this reflects a peaceful society or simply a different approach to security remains a subject of debate. The architectural choices of Mohenjo Daro reveal a civilization deeply invested in order, cleanliness, and functionality. Beauty was expressed through proportion and balance rather than ornamentation. Power was embedded in systems rather than symbols. Every street, drain, and brick tells a story of collective effort and shared values. Yet architecture alone cannot answer the deeper questions. Who made the decisions that shaped this city? How were labor and resources organized? What beliefs guided the emphasis on water, hygiene, and urban harmony? The city's physical remains provide clues, but not conclusions. As we move forward in this exploration, the streets of Mohenjo Daro lead us towards its people, their daily lives, social structures, and cultural practices. In the next part, we'll step inside the homes and neighborhoods of Mohenjo Daro to uncover how ordinary men, women, and children lived within this extraordinary city, and how their society functioned beyond bricks and mortar.
Behind the carefully laid bricks and perfectly aligned streets of Mohenjo Daro lived a population whose daily lives remain largely hidden from history. Unlike civilizations that left behind royal chronicles or religious scriptures, the people of Mohenjo Daro spoke to the future only through their homes, tools, ornaments, and silent artifacts. Yet from these fragments, a surprisingly vivid picture of social life begins to emerge, one that challenges many assumptions about how early urban societies functioned. The population of Mohenjo Daro is estimated to have ranged between 35,000 and 50,000 people at its peak. This made it one of the largest cities of the ancient world. Such a dense population required organization, cooperation, and social rules that governed everyday behavior. The uniformity of housing and infrastructure suggests that while social differences existed, extreme inequality was limited. There is little evidence of vast slums or extravagant elite quarters. Instead, the city appears to have been built for stability rather than display. Homes in Mohenjo Daro varied in size and layout, indicating different economic levels. Smaller houses likely belonged to laborers or craftsmen, while larger multi-room houses with private courtyards suggest wealthier families. However, even the largest homes lacked excessive decoration. This restraint implies cultural values that emphasized privacy and functionality over public status. Life was lived inward, around courtyards where families cooked, worked, and socialized away from the noise of the streets. Family appears to have been the basic unit of society. The layout of houses suggests extended families living together, possibly across generations. Courtyards provided space for domestic activities such as food preparation, weaving, and craft work. Children likely played within these enclosed spaces, protected from traffic and the outside world. This architectural choice reflects a concern for safety, modesty, and family cohesion. Food production and consumption formed the backbone of daily life. Archaeological evidence indicates that the people of Mohenjo Daro cultivated wheat, barley, peas, and sesame. They also domesticated animals such as cattle, sheep, goats, and water buffalo. Fish from the Indus River supplemented their diet. Cooking was done using clay ovens and hearths found within homes. The variety of food sources suggests a stable agricultural system capable of supporting a large urban population. Craftsmanship was highly developed and played a central role in the city's economy. Artisans produced pottery, beads, tools, and ornaments with remarkable skill. Bead making, in particular, was a specialized craft. Beads made from carnelian, lapis lazuli, shell, and faience have been found in large numbers. Some materials came from distant regions, indicating trade networks that extended far beyond the Indus Valley. These beads were not merely decorative,
they likely held social or symbolic significance. Clothing in Mohenjo Daro remains difficult to reconstruct, as textiles rarely survive in the archaeological record. However, figurines and sculptures suggest that people wore simple garments, often draped rather than tailored. Jewelry was common, especially among women. Bangles, necklaces, earrings, and anklets made from shell, metal, and stone have been found throughout the city. The widespread presence of ornaments suggests that personal adornment was an important aspect of identity and social expression. The role of women in Mohenjo Daro society has been the subject of much debate. The famous dancing girl figurine, with her confident posture and elaborate bangles, suggests a society that valued female expression and artistry. Numerous terracotta figurines depicting women, often associated with fertility symbols, hint at the importance of women in religious or cultural life. While it is impossible to determine social equality from artifacts alone, the evidence does not support a society where women were entirely marginalized. Work in Mohenjo Daro was diverse and specialized. Farmers, craftsmen, traders, builders, and administrators all contributed to the functioning of the city. The standardization of tools and weights suggests regulated economic activity. Cubical stone weights found across the city follow precise ratios, indicating a standardized system of measurement. Such consistency implies oversight and shared rules, possibly enforced by local authorities or councils. Trade was not limited to distant regions, it also shaped everyday interactions within the city. Markets likely existed where goods were exchanged, though no specific marketplace has been conclusively identified. The distribution of artifacts suggests neighborhood-level economic activity, with goods moving through social networks rather than centralized state control. This decentralized model aligns with the broader pattern of subtle governance seen throughout Mohenjo Daro. Religion and belief were deeply woven into daily life, though their exact nature remains elusive. Unlike Mesopotamia or Egypt, Mohenjo Daro left no grand temples or clear depictions of gods. Instead, religious expression appears to have been personal and symbolic. Seals depicting animals, trees, and horned figures suggest spiritual concepts tied to nature, fertility, and power. Ritual bathing, as implied by the Great Bath, may have played a role in purification or communal ceremonies. Death and burial practices offer further insight into social values. Burials found near Mohenjo Daro are relatively simple, with bodies placed in graves accompanied by modest grave goods. There is no evidence of elaborate tombs or monumental funerary architecture. This simplicity suggests beliefs that did not emphasize ostentatious displays in death. Whether this reflects egalitarian values or different spiritual concepts remains uncertain. Education and knowledge transmission likely occurred informally within families and communities. The undeciphered Indus script appears on seals, pottery, and tablets, suggesting that literacy or symbolic knowledge was present at least among certain groups. However, the short length of inscriptions implies that writing may have been used primarily for economic or administrative purposes, rather than storytelling or historical record-keeping. Social order in Mohenjo Daro seems to have been maintained through shared norms rather than coercive force. The lack of visible weapons, prisons, or military structures suggests that law and order relied on community enforcement and cultural values. Cleanliness, order, and cooperation were not merely architectural features, they were social principles embedded in daily life. Yet this apparent harmony does not mean life was without hardship. Floods, disease, and environmental uncertainty posed constant threats. The repeated rebuilding of the city indicates resilience, but also stress. Over time, signs of overcrowding and declining maintenance appear, hinting at social strain. As resources became scarcer or environmental conditions worsened, the delicate balance of urban life may have begun to unravel. Children growing up in Mohenjo Daro would have inherited a world shaped by tradition and adaptation. They learned crafts from elders, absorbed social norms through daily routines, and participated in rituals whose meanings we can only guess. Their laughter and struggles have long since faded, but their presence is felt in the worn thresholds of houses and the small toys and figurines left behind. The people of Mohenjo Daro were not mysterious because they were strange or alien, but because they were human in ways both familiar and unfamiliar. They built families, worked, traded, worshipped, and adapted to their environment. What sets them apart is not their humanity, but the silence they left behind. As we move deeper into this exploration, the focus shifts from daily life to belief and symbolism. In the next part, we will examine the religious ideas, sacred symbols, and spiritual mysteries of Mohenjo Daro, seeking to understand how its people made sense of the world, life, and the forces beyond human control.
Among all the mysteries surrounding Mohenjo Daro, none is more elusive than its religion. Civilizations are often remembered through their gods, temples, and sacred texts, yet Mohenjo Daro offers none of these in a clear or familiar form. There are no towering temples, no long prayers carved into stone, and no named deities passed down through written tradition. Instead, the spiritual world of Mohenjo Daro must be reconstructed from symbols, figurines, seals, and architectural spaces that hinted belief without explaining it. This absence of clarity has made the religious life of the Indus Valley Civilization one of the most debated subjects in ancient history. The most prominent religious structure in Mohenjo Daro is the Great Bath. Its careful construction, waterproofing, and central location within the citadel suggest a function far beyond ordinary bathing. In many ancient cultures, water symbolized purification, renewal, and spiritual cleansing. The Great Bath may have served as a place for ritual immersion, communal ceremonies, or seasonal observances tied to the rhythms of nature. The lack of domestic bathing spaces comparable in scale reinforces the idea that this structure held special significance. Yet without inscriptions or direct evidence, its exact role remains a matter of interpretation. Beyond the Great Bath, religious expression appears to have been decentralized and woven into daily life. Numerous terracotta figurines have been discovered, many depicting female forms. These figurines often emphasize fertility-related features and are sometimes interpreted as representations of a mother goddess or fertility deity. If this interpretation is correct, it suggests that concepts of fertility, birth, and abundance were central to spiritual belief. However, the simplicity and widespread distribution of these figurines also raise the possibility that they were household objects used in personal rituals rather than symbols of an organized state religion. Animal symbolism plays a powerful role in the religious imagery of Mohenjo Daro. Seals frequently depict animals such as bulls, elephants, rhinoceroses, tigers, and a mysterious unicorn-like creature. These animals may have represented spiritual forces, clan identities, or protective symbols. In many ancient traditions, animals served as intermediaries between the human and divine worlds. The prominence of animal imagery suggests a belief system closely tied to nature and the surrounding environment. One of the most intriguing seal images shows a horned figure seated in a yogic or meditative posture surrounded by animals. Often referred to as the Pashupati seal, this image has been interpreted by some scholars as a protoform of the Hindu god Shiva associated with animals and asceticism. If this connection is valid, it would imply a remarkable continuity of religious ideas across thousands of years. However, such interpretations are controversial. Without textual evidence, it is impossible to confirm whether this figure represents a god, a priest, or a symbolic concept rather than a specific deity. Trees and plants also appear frequently in Indus imagery,
particularly the peepal tree. In later Indian religious traditions, trees are often associated with life, fertility, and cosmic order. The repeated depiction of trees alongside animals and human figures suggests that nature itself may have been considered sacred. Rather than worshiping anthropomorphic gods with defined personalities, the people of Mohenjo Daro may have practiced a form of nature-centered spirituality. Fire, another common element in ancient religions, is notably less visible in Mohenjo Daro's archaeological record. While hearths and ovens are found in homes, there is little evidence of large fire altars or sacrificial pits similar to those found in later Vedic traditions. This absence suggests that ritual practices may have emphasized water and earth over fire. Such a focus would align with the importance of rivers, fertility, and agriculture in Indus Valley life. The role of priests or religious specialists in Mohenjo Daro is unclear. The so-called priest king statue, with its calm expression and patterned robe, has been interpreted as a religious or ceremonial figure. However, this interpretation is based largely on appearance rather than concrete evidence. If priests existed, they may not have held the same centralized authority seen in other civilizations. Religious leadership could have been local, familial, or ritual-based, rather than hierarchical. Seals provide another window into spiritual life. Beyond their practical use in trade and administration, seals may carry symbolic or protective meanings. The repeated use of certain symbols suggests shared beliefs or cultural codes. Some seals may have functioned as amulets, invoking protection, prosperity, or spiritual favor. The presence of the undeciphered Indus script alongside these symbols hints at religious ideas that remain locked behind an unreadable language. Death rituals further reflect the spiritual worldview of Mohenjo Daro. Burials were generally simple, with bodies placed in graves accompanied by modest goods such as pottery or ornaments. There is little evidence of elaborate funerary architecture or offerings meant to display wealth or power. This simplicity suggests beliefs that did not emphasize the accumulation of status in the afterlife. Instead, spiritual focus may have been placed on life, renewal, and continuity rather than death. The absence of monumental temples and priestly dominance suggests that religion in Mohenjo Daro was not used as a tool of political control. Unlike in Egypt or Mesopotamia, where rulers often claimed divine authority, there is no clear evidence that religious ideology was tied to kingship. This separation of spiritual and political power, if true, would be highly unusual for the ancient world, and may explain the city's emphasis on civic order over royal display. Ritual practices likely followed seasonal cycles linked to agriculture and the Indus River's floods. Ceremonies may have marked planting and harvest times, monsoon seasons, and moments of communal renewal. These rituals would have reinforced social cohesion and shared identity, connecting individuals to the larger rhythms of nature and community. Despite these clues, the spiritual life of Mohenjo Daro remains fundamentally mysterious. Every interpretation rests on fragile evidence and cautious inference. The danger of projecting later religious traditions backward onto the Indus Valley Civilization is ever present. What seems familiar may be coincidence, and what seems strange may simply reflect a worldview we no longer recognize. This uncertainty, however, is what makes Mohenjo Daro so compelling. Its religion was not loud or monumental. It was subtle, symbolic, and deeply integrated into daily life. It did not seek to dominate the skyline, but to shape the inner lives of its people. In this quiet spirituality, we glimpse a civilization that valued balance, harmony, and connection with the natural world. As we move forward, the mystery deepens rather than resolves. In the next part, we will confront one of the greatest puzzles of all, the Indus script. This undeciphered writing system holds the potential to unlock the voices of Mohenjo Daro's people, revealing their beliefs, laws, and stories. Until then, their gods remain unnamed, their prayers unheard, and their faith a silent presence among the ruins. Among all the enigmas of Mohenjo Daro, None has frustrated scholars more than its writing system. Cities can be understood through architecture, societies through tools and burials, and beliefs through symbols. But language is the key that unlocks intention, memory, and identity. The people of Mohenjo Daro possessed a script, yet they left behind no readable history, no myths, no royal decrees, and no personal voices. This silence has transformed the Indus script into one of the greatest unsolved puzzles of human civilization. The Indus script appears on seals, pottery, tablets, tools, and ornaments found throughout Mohenjo Daro and other Indus Valley sites. These inscriptions are usually short, consisting of a few symbols arranged in neat sequences. Unlike Egyptian hieroglyphs or Mesopotamian cuneiform, there are no long texts, no monumental inscriptions, and no bilingual artifacts like the Rosetta Stone to guide interpretation. This scarcity of extended writing has made decipherment extraordinarily difficult, leaving scholars divided even on the most basic questions about the script's nature. One of the first mysteries is whether the Indus script represents a full language or a symbolic system used primarily for economic or ritual purposes. Some researchers argue that the short length of inscriptions suggests a logo-symbolic system rather than a phonetic script. Others believe it represents a complete spoken language encoded in symbols, but used sparingly on durable materials. The possibility that longer texts were written on perishable materials, such as palm leaves or cloth, cannot be dismissed, but no physical evidence has survived to confirm this theory. The symbols themselves are strikingly consistent across the vast geographical spread of the Indus Valley Civilization. Over 400 distinct signs have been identified, though the most frequently used symbols appear again and again in similar positions. This consistency suggests shared rules of writing and widespread literacy, at least among certain groups. The repetition of specific symbol sequences implies grammar or syntax rather than random decoration. Yet, without knowing the underlying language, these patterns remain tantalizing but unreadable. Most inscriptions are found on seals, which were likely used in trade and administration. These seals often depict animals or symbolic scenes alongside lines of script. The combination suggests that writing and imagery worked together to convey identity, ownership, authority, or spiritual meaning. A merchant might have used a seal to mark goods, while the symbols identified the individual, family, or guild responsible. In this sense, writing may have been deeply embedded in everyday economic life, rather than reserved for elite or religious expression. The direction of writing is another subject of debate. Many inscriptions appear to be written from right to left, though some show variations. This inconsistency could indicate flexibility in writing conventions or different regional practices. Alternatively, it may reflect changes over time as the script evolved. Such uncertainty complicates efforts to establish phonetic values or reading order, both essential steps in decipherment. Attempts to decode the Indus script have followed many paths. Some scholars have tried to link it to early Dravidian languages, suggesting that the script represents an ancestral form of Tamil or related tongues. Others have proposed connections to Indo-Aryan languages, Sumerian, or even lost language families with no modern descendants. Each theory finds some support in pattern analysis, but none has achieved broad acceptance. Without longer texts or clear translations, every proposed reading remains speculative. Statistical and computational approaches have added new dimensions to the study of the Indus script. By analyzing symbol frequency, sequence patterns, and positional rules, researchers have shown that the script behaves like a structured language rather than random symbols. Certain signs appear only at the beginning or end of inscriptions, suggesting grammatical markers. These findings strengthen the argument that the Indus script encodes meaningful linguistic information, even if its content remains unknown. The undeciphered script has profound implications for how we understand Mohenjo Daro. Without written records, historians cannot identify rulers, laws, myths, or historical events. We do not know how the people described themselves or how they explained their world. This absence has forced modern scholars to rely heavily on material culture, leading to interpretations shaped by external observation rather than internal voice. Mohenjo Daro, in this sense, is a civilization seen from the outside, never heard from within. The silence of the script also affects theories about governance. If writing was widely used for administration, it suggests a complex bureaucratic system operating without visible kings or palaces. Rules, standards, and economic transactions may have been recorded and enforced through written symbols now lost to understanding. This possibility aligns with the city's emphasis on order, standardization, and civic infrastructure. Religious meaning may also be hidden within the script. Symbols appearing alongside sacred imagery could represent divine names, ritual formulas, or cosmological concepts. If so, the inability to read these inscriptions means that the spiritual worldview of Mohenjo Daro remains incomplete. What we interpret as gods, rituals, or beliefs may be only fragments of a much richer symbolic universe encoded in writing. The disappearance of the Indus script is as mysterious as its existence. After around 1900 BCE, the script vanishes from the archaeological record. Later cultures in the region did not adopt or continue it, suggesting a break in cultural continuity. Whether this disappearance resulted from population shifts, social collapse, or gradual transformation remains unclear. The loss of writing may reflect deeper disruptions in education, administration, and identity. Some scholars have questioned whether the Indus script should even be called writing in the traditional sense. They argue that it may represent a system of symbols used for limited purposes, rather than full linguistic expression. Others counter that such arguments underestimate the sophistication of the civilization and reflect modern biases about what writing should look like. The debate itself highlights how Mohenjo Daro challenges conventional definitions of civilization. The emotional impact of the undeciphered script cannot be ignored. Each symbol carved into stone or clay represents an intentional act of communication across time. The fact that we cannot understand these messages creates a sense of loss more profound than the ruin of buildings or the disappearance of people. It is the loss of voice, of stories untold and thoughts unshared. Yet the mystery also holds hope. Advances in technology, artificial intelligence, and comparative linguistics may one day provide breakthroughs. New discoveries, such as longer inscriptions or contextual clues, could shift understanding dramatically. The Indus script remains a locked door, but not necessarily a sealed one. As we continue this journey, the silence of the script reminds us of the limits of knowledge. Mohenjo Daro was not a failed civilization. It was a complete world that thrived, adapted, and expressed itself in ways we are still learning to recognize. Its writing system stands as both evidence of its sophistication and a barrier to full comprehension. In the next part, the focus will turn from language to technology and science. We will explore how the people of Mohenjo Daro mastered engineering, measurement, and urban systems with a precision that rivals much later civilizations, revealing that even without readable texts, their intelligence and innovation are unmistakably written into the city itself.
The true brilliance of Mohenjo Daro is not found in monuments or royal inscriptions, but in the quiet mastery of science and technology embedded into every corner of the city. Long before modern engineering principles were formally defined, the people of Mohenjo Daro applied them with remarkable precision. Their achievements were practical rather than theatrical, focused on solving real problems of urban life, such as water supply, sanitation, construction, and measurement. This technological sophistication forces us to reconsider the intellectual capabilities of early civilizations and challenges the idea that progress follows a simple linear path.
At the foundation of Mohenjo Daro's technological success was an advanced understanding of materials. The widespread use of baked bricks represents a major technological leap. Unlike sun-dried mud bricks, baked bricks required controlled kilns, precise temperatures, and standardized molds. These bricks were stronger, more durable, and resistant to water damage, making them ideal for a flood-prone environment. The consistent brick ratio used across the city and throughout the Indus Valley suggests shared technical knowledge and regulated production methods. Such uniformity could only exist in a society with skilled specialists and coordinated planning. Water management was perhaps the greatest scientific achievement of Mohenjo Daro. The city's relationship with water was both respectful and strategic. Hundreds of wells were constructed using circular brick linings, a design that prevented collapse and contamination. These wells were distributed evenly across residential areas, ensuring reliable access to clean water. This decentralized system reduced dependence on river water, which could become polluted or unpredictable during floods. The placement and construction of wells demonstrate an understanding of groundwater behavior and long-term sustainability. Even more impressive was the drainage and sanitation system. Wastewater from homes flowed through sloped channels into covered drains beneath the streets. These drains were carefully engineered with inspection holes and removable covers, allowing for cleaning and maintenance. The system relied on gravity rather than mechanical force, showing an intuitive grasp of hydraulic principles. In an era when most civilizations disposed of waste openly, Mohenjo Daro prioritized cleanliness and disease prevention, suggesting an empirical understanding of health and hygiene. The engineering of the Great Bath further illustrates advanced technical knowledge. Its waterproof construction used layers of brick, gypsum, and bitumen to prevent leakage. The pool's design allowed for controlled filling and draining, indicating careful planning. Such precision implies not only skilled labor, but also knowledge transfer across generations. The Great Bath was not an experimental structure. It was the product of accumulated expertise. Measurement and standardization formed the backbone of Mohenjo Daro's technological culture. Archaeologists have discovered stone weights in precise geometric shapes, calibrated to consistent ratios. These weights suggest a standardized system of measurement used in trade and construction. Accuracy in measurement is a hallmark of scientific thinking, requiring abstract concepts of quantity and proportion. The widespread use of standardized weights implies regulated commerce and shared trust in numerical systems. Tools found in Mohenjo Daro reveal a society skilled in metallurgy and craftsmanship. Copper and bronze tools were common, including knives, chisels, saws, and drills. While iron was not yet in use, the effective application of copper alloys allowed for efficient construction and manufacturing. The absence of large quantities of weapons reinforces the idea that metalworking focused on utility rather than warfare. Technology served life, not domination. Pottery production also reflects scientific understanding. Kilns capable of reaching high temperatures were used to produce uniform pottery with consistent firing quality. Potters understood how variations in heat affected strength and color, adjusting techniques accordingly. Decorative patterns were applied with symmetry and balance, indicating aesthetic principles guided by mathematical order. Pottery was not merely functional, it reflected a culture that valued precision and harmony. Urban planning itself can be seen as a technological system. The grid layout of streets facilitated airflow, drainage, and movement. Buildings were oriented to maximize light and ventilation, reducing heat in a hot climate. Courtyards acted as natural cooling systems, demonstrating passive climate control techniques still admired by modern architects. These design choices show an understanding of environmental science rooted in observation and experience. Transportation and logistics were supported by technological innovation. The wide streets accommodated carts, likely pulled by animals, enabling efficient movement of goods. Dockyards and ports in related Indus Valley sites suggest maritime technology capable of long-distance trade. The ability to coordinate production, storage, and distribution across vast distances points to sophisticated logistical planning. Perhaps most striking is the absence of technological excess. Mohenjo Daro's technology was not designed to impress outsiders, but to improve daily life. There were no massive statues or colossal structures built solely for prestige. Instead, technology was quietly integrated into the fabric of society. This restraint suggests a cultural philosophy that valued balance over spectacle. Scientific knowledge in Mohenjo Daro likely was empirical rather than theoretical. There is no evidence of written scientific texts, yet practical solutions indicate careful observation, experimentation, and refinement. Knowledge was probably transmitted through apprenticeship and tradition, embedded in craft and practice rather than abstract theory. This mode of knowledge transmission, while effective, may also explain why so much was lost when the civilization declined. The technological systems of Mohenjo Daro required maintenance and cooperation. Drains needed cleaning, wells needed upkeep, and standards needed enforcement. Such coordination implies social structures capable of organizing labor and responsibility. Technology was inseparable from social order, reinforcing the idea that governance operated through systems rather than rulers. However, technology alone could not protect Mohenjo Daro from change. Environmental shifts, river movements, and climate variability eventually strained even the most advanced systems. As floods became more destructive or water sources shifted, maintaining infrastructure grew increasingly difficult. The gradual decline in construction quality suggests technological capacity eroded alongside social stability. The legacy of Mohenjo Daro's technology is profound. Many principles it employed, standardization, sanitation, passive cooling, and sustainable water management, are still relevant today. In some respects, the city was ahead of its time, achieving levels of urban comfort and organization not seen again for centuries. Yet this legacy is also fragile. Without deciphered texts, we cannot know how the people understood their own innovations. Were they aware of their uniqueness? Did they see technology as sacred, communal, or purely practical? These questions remain unanswered. Mohenjo Daro reminds us that intelligence does not always announce itself loudly. It can exist quietly, embedded in systems that work so well they are taken for granted. The city's technology was not flashy, but it was transformative, enabling a large population to live with dignity, cleanliness, and order. As we move forward, the question becomes unavoidable. How did such a technologically capable civilization begin to fail? In the next part, we will confront the most debated topic of all, the decline and disappearance of Mohenjo Daro, exploring environmental, social, and cultural theories that seek to explain how a city so advanced could fade into silence.
The fall of Mohenjo Daro is not marked by fire, conquest, or a single moment of destruction. Instead, it is a slow fading, a gradual unraveling of systems that once sustained one of the most advanced cities of the ancient world. This quiet disappearance is perhaps the greatest mystery of all, because it defies the dramatic narratives often associated with the collapse of civilizations. Mohenjo Daro did not fall in a day. It weakened, adapted, and then slowly slipped into abandonment, leaving behind questions that continue to haunt modern scholarship. Archaeological evidence
shows that Mohenjo Daro experienced multiple phases of rebuilding. Flood layers indicate that the Indus River repeatedly overflowed its banks, depositing silt across the city. Each time, the inhabitants responded by raising streets, reinforcing platforms, and reconstructing buildings. This resilience demonstrates that the people were not passive victims of nature. They possessed the technical skill and social organization to recover from disasters. However, over time, the frequency and severity of floods may have increased, placing growing strain on resources and infrastructure. One of the most widely accepted explanations for the city's decline involves environmental change. Geological studies suggest that the Indus River and its tributaries shifted course over time. Rivers that once fed agricultural lands may have dried up or moved away, disrupting food production. Climate data indicates a gradual weakening of the monsoon system around 2000 BCE, leading to reduced rainfall and increased aridity. For a civilization dependent on predictable water cycles, such changes would have been devastating. As agricultural productivity declined, the urban economy of Mohenjo Daro would have suffered. Food shortages, rising costs, and social stress likely followed. Archaeological layers from the later phases of the city show signs of overcrowding, with houses subdivided and public spaces encroached upon. These changes suggest population pressure and declining urban planning standards. The careful order that once defined the city began to erode. Trade networks also appear to have weakened during this period. Evidence of long-distance trade with Mesopotamia declines, possibly due to political changes in those regions or disruptions in trade routes. As external connections faded, Mohenjo Daro may have lost access to essential materials and economic opportunities. The decline of trade would have further strained the city's ability to sustain its population and maintain its infrastructure. Early theories proposed violent invasion as the cause of Mohenjo Daro's collapse, particularly by Indo-Aryan groups migrating into the subcontinent. This idea was based on misinterpretations of skeletal remains and later textual traditions. Modern research has largely rejected the invasion theory. There is no convincing evidence of widespread warfare, destruction, or mass slaughter. The skeletons once thought to represent massacre victims are now understood to be unrelated burials from different periods. Disease has also been proposed as a contributing factor. Dense urban living, combined with environmental stress and declining sanitation, could have increased vulnerability to epidemics. While direct evidence of disease is difficult to detect archaeologically, the breakdown of drainage systems in later phases suggests declining public health. Even a series of localized outbreaks could have weakened the population over generations. Social and political factors likely played a role as well. Mohenjo Daro's governance appears to have relied on collective systems rather than centralized authority. While this model may have promoted stability during prosperous times, it could have struggled to respond effectively to prolonged crises. Coordinating large-scale adaptation to environmental change requires decisive leadership and resource mobilization. The absence of visible centralized power may have limited the city's ability to implement such measures. Cultural transformation, rather than sudden collapse, may best describe what happened next. Instead of disappearing entirely, the people of Mohenjo Daro may have gradually migrated to smaller settlements and rural areas better suited to changing conditions. Archaeological evidence shows a shift from large urban centers to dispersed villages across the region. This decentralization suggests adaptation rather than failure, a reorganization of society in response to new realities. The disappearance of the Indus script during this period is particularly telling. Writing systems often decline alongside administrative and economic complexity. As urban life faded, the need for standardized record-keeping may have diminished. Knowledge once transmitted through written symbols may have been lost or transformed into oral traditions. This loss represents not only a technological decline, but also a break in cultural continuity. The final phases of Mohenjo Daro show clear signs of deterioration. Buildings were constructed with lower quality materials, streets were poorly maintained, and drainage systems fell into disrepair. These changes indicate a society struggling to sustain its technological achievements. The city that once exemplified order and precision became a shadow of its former self. Despite this decline, there is no evidence of panic or chaos. The abandonment of Mohenjo Daro appears to have been gradual and organized. People took their belongings, leaving behind relatively few signs of sudden flight. This suggests a conscious decision to leave, rather than a forced evacuation. The city was not destroyed, it was left behind. The story of Mohenjo Daro's decline challenges traditional narratives of collapse. It was not undone by a single enemy or disaster, but by a complex interplay of environmental, economic, and social factors. This complexity makes the city's fate both harder to explain and more relevant to the modern world. It reminds us that even highly advanced societies are vulnerable to long-term changes beyond their control. Mohenjo Daro's disappearance also raises deeper philosophical questions. What defines the success of a civilization? Is it longevity, influence, or adaptability? By some measures, Mohenjo Daro failed. It did not leave behind a continuous written tradition or a lasting political legacy. Yet by others, it succeeded remarkably, creating a model of urban life that prioritized health, order, and collective well-being. The ruins of Mohenjo Daro stand as a testament to human ingenuity and humility. They show what is possible when knowledge, cooperation, and respect for environment align. They also warn of the limits of even the most sophisticated systems in the face of gradual change. As this journey continues, the final parts will move beyond decline to examine Mohenjo Daro's enduring legacy and the modern debates that surround it. In the next part, we will explore how modern archaeology, science, and popular imagination have reshaped our understanding of this lost city, and why Mohenjo Daro continues to capture the human imagination thousands of years after its abandonment.
Long after its streets fell silent and its wells dried, Mohenjo Daro returned to human awareness not as a living city, but as a question. Its rediscovery in the 20th century did more than reveal an ancient ruin. It disrupted long-held assumptions about the origins of civilization in South Asia and the nature of early urban life. From the moment archaeologists first uncovered its bricks, Mohenjo Daro became a battleground of ideas, where evidence, interpretation, and imagination continued to collide. Modern archaeology transformed Mohenjo Daro from a local legend into a global symbol. Early excavations revealed a city older than classical Greece and rivaling Mesopotamia and Egypt in scale and sophistication. This realization forced historians to acknowledge the Indus Valley Civilization as one of the world's earliest cradles of urban development. Yet, unlike other ancient civilizations, Mohenjo Daro offered no king's lists or epic narratives to guide interpretation. Every conclusion had to be drawn from material remains alone, making the city both scientifically fascinating and intellectually frustrating. Advances in archaeological methods have deepened understanding, while also raising new questions. Stratigraphic analysis revealed multiple phases of construction and rebuilding, confirming that Mohenjo Daro evolved over centuries rather than appearing fully formed. Scientific dating techniques refined timelines, while environmental studies connected the city's history to broader climatic patterns. Each new layer of data added complexity, showing that Mohenjo Daro was not static but dynamic, adapting to changing conditions until adaptation was no longer possible. Preservation has become one of the most urgent modern challenges. The same environmental forces that once sustained Mohenjo Daro now threaten its remains.
Rising groundwater levels, salt crystallization, and extreme weather have accelerated decay. Efforts to conserve the site face limited resources and difficult choices. Protecting Mohenjo Daro is not only about saving bricks, it is about preserving a shared human heritage that belongs to no single nation or culture. Mohenjo Daro's legacy extends far beyond archaeology. It has influenced modern urban planning, environmental design, and discussions about sustainable living. Its emphasis on sanitation, water management, and passive climate control resonates strongly in an era grappling with urban overcrowding and climate change. The city demonstrates that ancient societies could achieve sophisticated solutions without modern technology, relying instead on observation, cooperation, and respect for natural systems. The undeciphered Indus script continues to inspire debate and innovation. Linguists, computer scientists, and historians collaborate in attempts to unlock its secrets. Artificial intelligence and pattern recognition tools offer new hope, analyzing symbol sequences in ways previously impossible. While no definitive breakthrough has occurred, these efforts reflect a broader shift toward interdisciplinary research, where technology and humanities converge to explore the past. Popular imagination has also played a role in shaping Mohenjo Daro's modern identity. Speculative theories have linked the city to lost continents, advanced ancient technologies, and even extraterrestrial influence. While such ideas lack scientific support, they reveal a deeper human fascination with lost knowledge and forgotten worlds. Mohenjo Daro's silence invites speculation, and where evidence ends, imagination often begins. These myths, however, can obscure the true significance of the city. Mohenjo Daro does not need extraordinary explanations to be extraordinary. Its real achievement lies in what it reveals about human potential, the ability to organize complex societies, prioritize collective well-being, and live in balance with the environment. Recognizing this reality honors the people who built and sustained the city, far more than fantastical narratives ever could. Debates also continue over cultural continuity. Some scholars see Mohenjo Daro as an isolated phenomenon, while others argue that its influence persisted in later South Asian traditions. Elements such as ritual bathing, reverence for nature, and symbolic motifs may represent enduring cultural patterns rather than direct inheritance. These discussions highlight the difficulty of tracing influence without written records, reminding us of the fragile nature of cultural memory. Mohenjo Daro's rediscovery reshaped regional identity as well. It provided tangible evidence of a deep and sophisticated past, challenging colonial-era narratives that underestimated indigenous achievements. The city became a symbol of pride and a reminder that history is not owned by those who write it, but by those who lived it. Despite decades of study, Mohenjo Daro remains unfinished business for history. Each excavation season, each technological advance, and each theoretical debate adds to the story without closing it. The city resists final interpretation, standing as a reminder that knowledge is always provisional. Mohenjo Daro's greatest legacy may be the questions it leaves behind. It asks how societies organize power without spectacle, how technology serves community rather than dominance, and how civilizations respond to slow, relentless change. These questions are not ancient, they are urgently modern. As this exploration approaches its conclusion, one truth becomes clear. Mohenjo Daro is not merely a relic of the past, it is a conversation across time, challenging us to reflect on our own cities, our own systems, and our own assumptions about progress. In the final part, we will draw together the threads of this epic journey, reflecting on what Mohenjo Daro ultimately teaches us about civilization, resilience, and the enduring mystery of human history.
As we reach the final chapters of Mohenjo Daro's story, it is clear that the city's importance extends far beyond its bricks, drains, and artifacts. Mohenjo Daro was not simply an ancient settlement. It was a testament to human ingenuity, social cooperation, and the capacity to build complex systems without coercive power or grandiose rulers. Its very existence challenges assumptions about the development of civilization, offering lessons that resonate across millennia and across continents. Mohenjo Daro teaches us that sophistication is not always visible in monuments or inscriptions. Unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, the city lacked enormous temples, towering statues, and royal palaces. Its greatness lay in subtlety, in standardized bricks, efficient drainage, grid-patterned streets, and carefully placed wells. Every aspect of urban planning, from ventilation in homes to slope of drainage channels, reflects deliberate thought and shared knowledge. This emphasis on functionality over spectacle indicates a society that valued collective well-being over personal aggrandizement. The people of Mohenjo Daro lived within a framework of order, cooperation, and regulation. While social hierarchies existed, they were not expressed through ostentatious architecture or monumental wealth. Instead, the city prioritized equality of access. Clean water, sanitation, and safe public spaces were available to all. Labor, craft, and trade were organized to serve the community, and knowledge was embedded in practice, passed down through apprenticeship, observation, and social norms. Mohenjo Daro demonstrates that human societies can achieve remarkable organization without central authority dominating every aspect of life. Water, hygiene, and environmental adaptation are recurring themes in the city's design. Wells, baths, drainage systems, and urban grids were not only technological achievements, they were expressions of cultural values that linked survival, spirituality, and communal responsibility. Mohenjo Daro shows us that infrastructure is more than practical. It is moral and cultural, shaping how people relate to each other and to nature. This principle remains relevant today as modern cities face challenges of sanitation, climate change, and equitable resource distribution. The spiritual life of Mohenjo Daro, though silent and largely undeciphered, reinforces the notion of integration between material and symbolic existence. Ritual bathing, fertility figurines, and animal symbolism reveal a worldview that valued cycles of life, connection with nature, and community rituals. Religion was personal and embedded in daily life rather than centralized or coercive. The city's spirituality appears to have been a quiet force guiding ethics, aesthetics, and social behavior, rather than a tool for domination. The mystery of the Indus script underscores both the potential and the limitations of human understanding. While the script remains undeciphered, its presence indicates literacy, record-keeping, and communication within a complex society. That we cannot read it reminds us that history is partial, and that civilizations can communicate across time even when language itself is lost. Mohenjo Daro speaks to us through bricks, artifacts, and symbols, inviting interpretation, speculation, and imagination. Its silence is as much a message as its visible achievements. The city's decline and eventual abandonment illustrate that even the most advanced systems are vulnerable. Environmental change, river shifts, declining trade, and possible social stress gradually eroded urban life. Yet the manner of its decline was not catastrophic. Rather, it was adaptive. People left, migrated, and reorganized into smaller settlements. This gradual transformation highlights resilience as a form of intelligence, showing that survival often requires adaptation, compromise, and foresight, rather than confrontation or conquest. Modern rediscovery and scholarship have made Mohenjo Daro a symbol of heritage, ingenuity, and caution. Archaeology, technology, and interdisciplinary study continue to uncover insights,
while the site's fragility reminds us that preservation requires vigilance. Rising groundwater, climate impacts, and human neglect threaten the ruins, just as environmental changes once challenged the city's inhabitants. In this sense, Mohenjo Daro is a living lesson. The achievements of civilization are enduring only when maintained, understood, and respected. Perhaps the most profound lesson of Mohenjo Daro is humility. It demonstrates that human societies can achieve greatness quietly through intelligence, cooperation, and careful observation. It reminds us that scale and spectacle do not define civilization. Sustainability, order, and shared responsibility do. The city encourages reflection on our own urban life. How do we build cities that endure, not just physically, but socially and ethically? How do we balance technology, environment, and human well-being? How do we leave behind a legacy not of power, but of care? Mohenjo Daro also embodies the allure of mystery. Its silent streets, undeciphered script, and lost voices invite curiosity, imagination, and scholarship. It challenges us to listen carefully, to interpret material culture with humility, and to acknowledge the limits of our knowledge. In this, the city becomes a mirror for humanity, what we leave behind, what survives, and what is forever unknown. As this epic journey concludes, we recognize that Mohenjo Daro is not merely an archaeological site. It is a conversation across millennia, an enduring lesson in engineering, urban planning, social cohesion, and resilience. It is a reminder that human brilliance often thrives in quiet, practical forms rather than grandiose spectacle. Its mystery persists because it engages the imagination, demanding questions even when answers remain out of reach. And perhaps in its silent streets and orderly grids, we find both a model and a warning for our own civilizations, that greatness lies not only in what is built, but in how people live together, care for one another, and adapt to the changing world around them. Mohenjo Daro's story ends not with destruction, but with reflection. It is a civilization lost to time, yet never forgotten, a silent witness to human potential, ingenuity, and the enduring mysteries of our shared past. Its lessons remain relevant, echoing in modern cities, in the study of human society, and in the continuing quest to understand how civilizations rise, thrive, and endure, even when their voices fall silent.
The story of Mohenjo Daro does not conclude with its abandonment, nor with the mysteries of its undeciphered script or vanished rulers. Instead, it continues in the minds and imaginations of those who study it, visit it, and draw lessons from its remarkable achievements. Mohenjo Daro is a mirror for humanity, reflecting what is possible when ingenuity, cooperation, and respect for the natural world converge. Its relevance stretches across centuries, reminding us that civilization is measured not only by monuments or conquest, but by the harmony it creates between people, their environment, and the systems they build to sustain life. One of the clearest lessons from Mohenjo Daro is the importance of planning and foresight. From the perfectly aligned streets to the advanced drainage systems, every aspect of the city was conceived to meet both immediate needs and long-term sustainability. In a modern world where cities struggle with overcrowding, pollution, and climate change, Mohenjo Daro serves as a timeless example of how intelligent urban design can enhance quality of life. Its planners considered water access, waste management, airflow, and community spaces, concerns that remain vital today. The city demonstrates that foresight, observation, and careful organization are as essential to urban resilience now as they were 4,000 years ago. Mohenjo Daro also illustrates the power of collective effort. Unlike civilizations built around monumental rulers or grand dynasties, this city thrived through coordinated social systems and shared knowledge.
Its standardization of bricks, weights, and measures implies not coercion, but consensus and cultural norms that allowed thousands of people to cooperate effectively. Technology and infrastructure were developed for communal benefit, emphasizing that societal progress relies not solely on individual brilliance, but on collective intelligence and responsibility. Another enduring lesson is the integration of spirituality and daily life. Religion in Mohenjo Daro was subtle, decentralized, and symbolic rather than spectacular or coercive. Ritual bathing, fertility figurines, and animal symbols indicate a worldview that connected human activity with cycles of nature, agricultural rhythms, and communal identity. By embedding values into daily practices and infrastructure, the civilization harmonized social order, environmental adaptation, and cultural expression. This holistic approach remains instructive for modern societies seeking to align human needs with ecological realities. The city's achievements in science and technology provide further inspiration. Mohenjo Daro's engineering feats, including durable baked bricks, well-designed wells, efficient drainage, and the iconic Great Bath, demonstrate practical intelligence applied to real-world problems. Measurement, standardization, and craftsmanship reveal an empirical understanding that parallels scientific thinking, even in the absence of written explanation. The civilization reminds us that knowledge can be applied effectively without formal documentation, and that the true value of science lies in improving human life and communal resilience. Yet perhaps the most poignant lesson of Mohenjo Daro is humility in the face of time. The city, once thriving, eventually fell silent under pressures both environmental and social. Floods, shifting rivers, and climate variations challenged even the most sophisticated systems. The slow decline underscores that no civilization, however advanced, is immune to change. The story warns modern humanity that adaptation, foresight, and respect for natural systems are not optional, they are essential for sustainability and survival. The rise and fall of Mohenjo Daro is not a tale of failure, but a cautionary reflection on vulnerability and the fragile balance that sustains complex societies. Mohenjo Daro also captivates the human imagination because of its mysteries. The undeciphered Indus script, the enigmatic figurines, and the silent streets invite curiosity and speculation. They remind us that history is not only about facts, but also about questions, interpretations, and imagination. The city encourages intellectual humility, prompting us to accept that some knowledge may be lost, while other insights await discovery. Its silence is a powerful voice, urging inquiry, reflection, and respect for the civilizations that came before. In modern times, Mohenjo Daro has become both a symbol and a teacher. Archaeologists continue to uncover layers of the city, preserving its structures and studying its systems. Scholars, students, and visitors are inspired by its order, technology, and the resilience of its people. The city has become a bridge across millennia, connecting contemporary humanity with ancient ingenuity. Its story is not confined to the past. It is a living lesson, resonating in architecture, urban planning, environmental management, and cultural awareness today. The narrative of Mohenjo Daro ultimately emphasizes the universality of human aspiration. Across time and geography, people strive to organize society, maintain health, sustain resources, and express creativity. The city's successes and eventual decline remind us that human achievement depends on balance between innovation and tradition, human needs and ecological limits, individual effort and collective cooperation. Mohenjo Daro demonstrates that even without written records or grand monuments, a civilization can teach enduring lessons, leaving a legacy in ideas, systems, and human inspiration. As the sun sets over the ancient bricks and silent streets of Mohenjo Daro, its story continues to speak. It whispers about the ingenuity of those who lived there, the systems they built, and the mysteries they left behind. It challenges us to imagine their lives, to learn from their successes and failures, and to apply these lessons to our own world. In this way, Mohenjo Daro remains alive, not as a city of people, but as a city of ideas, a symbol of human potential, and a reminder that civilization is both fragile and remarkable. Its legacy endures because it teaches us that the measure of a civilization is not only how long it survives, but how profoundly it inspires future generations. Mohenjo Daro is a city without voices, yet it speaks louder than most, of cooperation, ingenuity, resilience, humility, and the enduring human quest to build order, meaning, and beauty in the world. It remains a timeless teacher, a silent epic of civilization, and a mystery that continues to awaken wonder, study, and reflection thousands of years after its streets fell silent.
Mohenjo Daro stands as one of the most remarkable achievements of early human civilization, a city built with intelligence, organization, and a profound respect for both community and environment. Founded over 4,000 years ago along the banks of the Indus River, it flourished in a time when monumental civilizations were emerging in Egypt and Mesopotamia. Unlike these other societies, Mohenjo Daro did not rely on ostentatious displays of royal power or grand temples. Its genius was practical, embedded in the careful planning of streets, homes, and public structures. The city's layout followed a precise grid system, with broad avenues intersecting at right angles, ensuring easy navigation and efficient movement of people, goods, and water. Buildings were constructed with standardized baked bricks, indicating knowledge of materials science and a coordinated system of production, planning, and labor. Every brick, every street, every drainage channel reflected deliberate thought, showing that the city was not a product of chance, but of sophisticated urban design. The most iconic structure, the Great Bath, demonstrates the spiritual and communal priorities of the inhabitants. A large, waterproofed pool, it may have been used for ritual cleansing, religious ceremonies, or communal gatherings, symbolizing the connection between water, life, and spiritual practice. Throughout Mohenjo Daro, water management was a central feature of urban planning. Hundreds of wells provided clean water to residential areas, while an elaborate drainage system ensured sanitation and public health. Wastewater flowed through covered channels beneath the streets, a sophisticated solution that predated similar systems in other parts of the world by millennia. These innovations reflect not only engineering skill, but also an understanding of environmental and health considerations, emphasizing that technology and morality were intertwined in Indus society. Religion and spirituality were subtle yet pervasive. Terracotta figurines, often depicting female deities, suggest reverence for fertility and the cycles of life. Animal symbolism appeared frequently on seals and artifacts, with bulls, elephants, and a mysterious unicorn-like creature, possibly representing spiritual concepts or clan identities. The Pashupati seal, showing a horned figure in a meditative pose surrounded by animals, hints at Proto-Hindu concepts or localized religious practices, though without deciphered texts, interpretations remain speculative. Trees and nature motifs suggest that the people of Mohenjo Daro valued the natural world and may have practiced a form of nature-centered spirituality. Religion was integrated into daily life rather than centralized under priestly authority, demonstrating a culture in which belief and practice were personal, communal, and embedded in ordinary spaces. Central to Mohenjo Daro's mystery is the undeciphered Indus script. Found on seals, pottery, and tablets, the script consists of over 400 symbols arranged in short sequences. Its brevity and the absence of bilingual texts make decipherment nearly impossible. Scholars debate whether it represents a full spoken language or a symbolic system for trade, ritual, or administration.
Patterns in symbol frequency and positional rules suggest structured communication, yet its exact meaning remains locked away. The script's disappearance after 1900 BCE, coinciding with the city's decline, hints at a profound cultural and administrative transformation, leaving us unable to hear the voices of the people who once thrived here. Mohenjo Daro's technological achievements extended beyond writing. Standardized weights indicate precise measurement and commerce. Copper and bronze tools reveal skilled metallurgy. Kilns produced uniform pottery with aesthetic designs, combining art and functionality. The city's passive climate control, courtyard ventilation, and careful alignment of buildings with environmental considerations reflect empirical observation and practical science. Knowledge was transmitted through apprenticeship, observation, and tradition rather than written instruction, emphasizing that science and engineering were lived practices deeply embedded in daily life. Despite these achievements, Mohenjo Daro declined gradually rather than collapsing suddenly. Environmental changes, including shifts in the Indus River and weakening monsoons, disrupted agriculture and water management. Trade networks declined, population pressure increased, and social structures faced growing strain. Archaeological evidence shows that construction quality decreased, public infrastructure deteriorated, and households became subdivided, suggesting adaptation under stress. The decline was neither violent nor chaotic. Rather, it was a slow migration, with people dispersing to smaller settlements better suited to survival. Mohenjo Daro teaches that even the most advanced systems are vulnerable to long-term environmental and social pressures, and that resilience requires constant adaptation. Rediscovered in the 20th century, Mohenjo Daro challenged perceptions of South Asian history. Its existence demonstrated that urban sophistication, standardized technology, and civic planning existed independently of Egyptian and Mesopotamian models. Archaeological excavations revealed the city's grid layout, advanced drainage, and uniform brickwork, inspiring modern urbanists and historians alike. Today, it stands as both a symbol of human achievement and a cautionary tale about environmental and societal vulnerability. Rising groundwater, salt damage, and climate challenges threaten its preservation, emphasizing the fragility of human creations even after millennia. Mohenjo Daro continues to inspire through its mysteries. Its silent streets, undeciphered writing, and enigmatic figurines invite curiosity, imagination, and scholarly inquiry. It reminds us that history is not solely written in texts or monuments, but also in the careful arrangement of space, the systems we build, and the legacy of collective human effort. The city shows that ingenuity and civilization are measured not just by grandeur alone, but how communities organize, cooperate, and sustain life in balance with the environment. The lessons of Mohenjo Daro are timeless. It demonstrates that order, foresight, and collective responsibility are foundational to civilization. It reveals that technology should serve life, health, and community, not just power or prestige. It illustrates that spirituality can be integrated into daily practice, enhancing social cohesion and environmental harmony. And it warns that even advanced systems are vulnerable to slow, persistent pressures, urging reflection on sustainability and adaptation. Mohenjo Daro's story is both inspiration and caution, offering a vision of human potential alongside a reminder of fragility. In the end, Mohenjo Daro is more than ruins. It is a conversation across time. It speaks of ingenuity, cooperation, and resilience, and of questions that remain unanswered. Its silence is profound yet instructive, urging humanity to consider how we live, how we organize our societies, and how we interact with the natural world. The city's legacy is eternal, not because it survived intact, but because it continues to teach, to challenge, and to inspire curiosity about the capacities and limits of human civilization. Mohenjo Daro remains a city without voices, yet it speaks louder than most, of the intelligence, vision, and spirit of the people who built it, and of the enduring mysteries that make human history endlessly fascinating. Mohenjo Daro stands as one of the most remarkable achievements of early human civilization, a city built with intelligence, organization, and a profound respect for both community and environment. Founded over 4,000 years ago along the banks of the Indus River, it flourished in a time when monumental civilizations were emerging in Egypt and Mesopotamia. Unlike these other societies, Mohenjo Daro did not rely on ostentatious displays of royal power or grand temples. Its genius was practical, embedded in the careful planning of streets, homes, and public structures. The city's layout followed a precise grid system, with broad avenues intersecting at right angles, ensuring easy navigation and efficient movement of people, goods, and water. Buildings were constructed with standardized baked bricks, indicating knowledge of materials science and a coordinated system of production, planning, and labor. Every brick, every street, every drainage channel reflected deliberate thought, showing that the city was not a product of chance, but of sophisticated urban design. The most iconic structure, the Great Bath, demonstrates the spiritual and communal priorities of the inhabitants. A large, waterproofed pool, it may have been used for ritual cleansing, religious ceremonies, or communal gatherings, symbolizing the connection between water, life, and spiritual practice. Throughout Mohenjo Daro, water management was a central feature of urban planning. Hundreds of wells provided clean water to residential areas, while an elaborate drainage system ensured sanitation and public health. Wastewater flowed through covered channels beneath the streets, a sophisticated solution that predated similar systems in other parts of the world by millennia. These innovations reflect not only engineering skill, but also an understanding of environmental and health considerations, emphasizing that technology and morality were intertwined in Indus society. Religion and spirituality were subtle yet pervasive. Terracotta figurines, often depicting female deities, suggest reverence for fertility and the cycles of life. Animal symbolism appeared frequently on seals and artifacts, with bulls, elephants, and a mysterious unicorn-like creature, possibly representing spiritual concepts or clan identities. The Pashupati seal, showing a horned figure in a meditative pose surrounded by animals, hints at Proto-Hindu concepts or localized religious practices, though without deciphered texts, interpretations remain speculative. Trees and nature motifs suggest that the people of Mohenjo Daro valued the natural world and may have practiced a form of nature-centered spirituality. Religion was integrated into daily life rather than centralized under priestly authority, demonstrating a culture in which belief and practice were personal, communal, and embedded in ordinary spaces. Central to Mohenjo Daro's mystery is the undeciphered Indus script. Found on seals, pottery, and tablets, the script consists of over 400 symbols arranged in short sequences. Its brevity and the absence of bilingual texts make decipherment nearly impossible. Scholars debate whether it represents a full spoken language or a symbolic system for trade, ritual, or administration. Patterns in symbol frequency and positional rules suggest structured communication, yet its exact meaning remains locked away. The script's disappearance after 1900 BCE, coinciding with the city's decline, hints at a profound cultural and administrative transformation, leaving us unable to hear the voices of the people who once thrived here. Mohenjo Daro's technological achievements extended beyond writing. Standardized weights indicate precise measurement and commerce. Copper and bronze tools reveal skilled metallurgy. Kilns produced uniform pottery with aesthetic designs, combining art and functionality. The city's passive climate control, Courtyard ventilation and careful alignment of buildings with environmental considerations reflect empirical observation and practical science. Knowledge was transmitted through apprenticeship, observation, and tradition rather than written instruction, emphasizing that science and engineering were lived practices, deeply embedded in daily life. Despite these achievements, Mohenjo Daro declined gradually rather than collapsing suddenly. Environmental changes, including shifts in the Indus River and weakening monsoons, disrupted agriculture and water management. Trade networks declined, population pressure increased, and social structures faced growing strain. Archaeological evidence shows that construction quality decreased, public infrastructure deteriorated, and households became subdivided, suggesting adaptation under stress. The decline was neither violent nor chaotic. Rather, it was a slow migration, with people dispersing to smaller settlements better suited to survival. Mohenjo Daro teaches us that even the most advanced systems are vulnerable to long-term environmental and social pressures, and that resilience requires constant adaptation. Modern rediscovery and scholarship have made Mohenjo Daro a symbol of human achievement. Its excavation revealed a city older than classical Greece and rivaling Mesopotamia and Egypt in urban sophistication. Archaeologists uncovered streets laid out in grids, standardized bricks, wells, baths, and complex drainage systems, demonstrating that urban intelligence can exist without monumental palaces or kings. Conservation efforts today are critical as rising groundwater, salt crystallization, and climate threats endanger its remains. Preserving Mohenjo Daro is not merely about saving bricks, but about safeguarding lessons for future generations. The undeciphered script continues to captivate researchers and enthusiasts alike. Linguists, computer scientists, and historians analyze symbols, frequency patterns, and sequences, seeking breakthroughs that may reveal language, administration, or culture. While no definitive translation exists, modern technology, including AI pattern recognition, offers new hope. Mohenjo Daro challenges us to approach history with humility, understanding that civilizations communicate in multiple ways beyond written words, leaving traces that require careful interpretation. The city's enduring legacy also resides in its practical genius. Its emphasis on sanitation, water management, and standardized construction demonstrates that sophistication need not be ostentatious. Urban planning, environmental adaptation, and community-oriented design reflect principles that are surprisingly relevant today. Mohenjo Daro teaches us that human intelligence thrives when knowledge is applied to improve collective life, when innovation respects the environment, and when cooperation surpasses individual aggrandizement. Mohenjo Daro's decline offers timeless lessons. Environmental shifts, changes in trade, and social pressures undermined even the most advanced urban systems. The gradual abandonment shows that resilience requires flexibility, foresight, and adaptation. The city's disappearance was neither catastrophic nor violent. It was a conscious adjustment to changing circumstances. This narrative reminds modern societies that technological brilliance alone cannot guarantee survival without social cohesion, environmental awareness, and sustainable planning. Above all, Mohenjo Daro inspires wonder and reflection. Its silent streets, meticulous design, and undeciphered script invite imagination, curiosity, and scholarship. It challenges us to consider what defines civilization. Is it monumental architecture, written history, or the capacity to live harmoniously with one another and the environment? Mohenjo Daro demonstrates that true achievement lies in balance, order, and collective intelligence. Mohenjo Daro speaks through time, teaching lessons that remain urgent and relevant. Its innovations in urban planning, technology, sanitation, and environmental management serve as models for modern cities. Its subtle spirituality,
embedded in daily life, reminds us that culture and ethics can shape social behavior without coercion. Its mystery, encoded in undeciphered script and silent streets, underscores the limits of knowledge and the enduring power of curiosity. The city's story is a mirror for humanity. It reflects our potential for creativity, cooperation, and ingenuity, while also warning us of the fragility of our achievements. Mohenjo Daro's legacy is not measured solely by what has survived physically, but by the inspiration it provides, the questions it provokes, and the principles it embodies. It demonstrates that civilization is sustained not by dominance or spectacle, but by order, foresight, shared responsibility, and harmony with nature. As the sun sets over the ruins of Mohenjo Daro, the city continues to whisper across millennia. It reminds us of ingenuity without arrogance, order without oppression, and progress without destruction. Its lessons resonate today, challenging modern societies to build cities that are resilient.
As Mohenjo Daro's streets lay silent and the riverbanks shifted with time, the city's story becomes a reflection on both human ingenuity and impermanence. Its urban design, with its meticulous grids, standardized bricks, and sophisticated drainage, represents the apex of civic intelligence in the ancient world. Scholars marvel at the deliberate planning evident in every corner, where residential areas, public baths, granaries, and marketplaces were arranged to facilitate order, hygiene, and social harmony. The Great Bath, still one of the city's most iconic structures, symbolizes the intertwining of daily life with ritual and community identity. Water in Mohenjo Daro was more than a resource. It was a medium of health, spirituality, and social cohesion, carefully managed through wells, channels, and baths that served a population deeply conscious of cleanliness and ritual purity. The arrangement of homes, many with private wells and bathrooms, demonstrates that public well-being was a priority, suggesting a society that valued equality, shared infrastructure, and access over ostentation. Daily life in Mohenjo Daro was structured yet adaptable. Houses varied in size, indicating social stratification, but they all shared the benefits of water access, ventilation, and connection to communal streets. Artifacts reveal a society rich in craft and trade. Pottery, seals, beads, and ornaments hint at both aesthetic sensibility and economic exchange. The uniformity of weights and measures across the city implies an advanced commercial system, suggesting the city's merchants and artisans traded not only within Mohenjo Daro, but possibly with distant settlements along the Indus and beyond. Metalwork, including copper and bronze tools, demonstrates technical skill, while kilns and fired bricks showcase knowledge of material durability and construction. Even the city's layout reflects climate intelligence, with houses oriented to maximize airflow and public spaces designed to remain shaded and comfortable. These innovations collectively reveal a civilization that thought ahead, cared for its citizens, and harmonized human activity with environmental realities. Yet alongside these marvels lies an enduring enigma, the Indus script. Found on seals, pottery, and tablets, these symbols, brief, precise, and undeciphered, are the echoes of administrative, ritual, or possibly commercial communication. They suggest literacy and record-keeping, but remain frustratingly silent. Unlike Mesopotamia or Egypt, no bilingual inscriptions survive, and the brevity of the sequences complicates understanding. Scholars speculate about trade records, religious symbolism, or clan identifiers, yet all remain hypothetical. The absence of decipherable writing forces us to listen more closely to material evidence, to read the city's bricks, drains, and artifacts as texts themselves, carrying the knowledge, priorities, and ethos of a lost society. Mohenjo Daro thus teaches that civilization can leave powerful legacies even if its voice is lost to time. Religious and cultural life,
though subtly documented, can be glimpsed through terracotta figurines, animal motifs, and seals. Female figurines suggest fertility rites, possibly reflecting agricultural dependence and veneration of life cycles. Animal depictions, cows, elephants, the mysterious unicorn-like creature, may indicate clan symbols, spiritual beliefs, or cosmological associations. The Pashupati seal, depicting a horned figure seated in meditation among animals, hints at proto-religious practice and possibly early forms of spiritual self-discipline. Unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, Mohenjo Daro's religion seems decentralized and integrated into daily routines, not concentrated in monumental temples or priestly hierarchies. Rituals may have been performed at home, in community baths, or in small sanctuaries, emphasizing personal and collective ethics, fertility, and the harmony between humans and nature. Spirituality, then, was functional, ethical, and social, rather than ostentatious, reflecting a civilization that sought balance and sustainability over display. Trade and external connections further reveal Mohenjo Daro's sophistication. Seals found at the city indicate long-distance commerce, with inscriptions and symbols suggesting links with settlements across the Indus Valley and even Mesopotamia. Goods such as beads, semi-precious stones, metals, and pottery traveled through complex networks facilitated by standardization of weights and measures. The city's artisans, traders, and laborers were part of a system that extended beyond local needs, demonstrating that Mohenjo Daro's influence and ingenuity reached well beyond its own boundaries. Its economy was thus both localized and globally connected, blending craft, commerce, and civic organization into a coherent social ecosystem. Despite its brilliance, the city's decline reveals the fragility of even the most advanced societies. Geological studies indicate shifts in the Indus River, possibly altering irrigation routes and trade routes, while weakening monsoons and environmental stress may have contributed to agricultural decline. Archaeological evidence shows deterioration in construction quality, gradual abandonment of public infrastructure, and eventual migration to smaller settlements. Unlike the catastrophic collapses seen in other civilizations, Mohenjo Daro's end was gradual and adaptive, reflecting resilience in the face of slow-moving challenges. Its citizens may have dispersed, seeking fertile lands, secure water sources, and more sustainable communities. In this, Mohenjo Daro provides a lesson in the impermanence of human achievement and the importance of adaptability, foresight, and environmental awareness. Modern rediscovery adds a layer of wonder to the city's story. Excavations in the 20th century revealed the intricate planning, technical skill, and aesthetic sensibilities of its people. Scholars, engineers, and archaeologists have pieced together evidence of streets, houses, drains, baths, and granaries, revealing a civilization older than classical Greece and rivaling Mesopotamia in urban sophistication. Preservation efforts today face challenges from rising groundwater, salt damage, and climate stress, emphasizing the fragility of heritage even after millennia. Mohenjo Daro remains not merely an archaeological site, but a classroom for engineers, urban planners, historians, and anyone seeking to understand sustainable civilization. Its legacy extends into imagination and mystery. The undeciphered script, silent streets, and enigmatic figurines invite reflection on human potential, creativity, and the limits of knowledge. Mohenjo Daro challenges assumptions about civilization, showing that innovation, cooperation, and societal intelligence can exist without monumental kings, palaces, or armies. Its story encourages humility. Civilizations may flourish, create, and leave indelible marks, yet they remain vulnerable to the passage of time, environmental change, and the delicate balance of social systems. Mohenjo Daro's lessons resonate today. Urban planning, sanitation, and community infrastructure are vital in modern cities, just as they were in this ancient metropolis. Its emphasis on communal welfare,
ethical integration and technological intelligence underscores that the greatest civilizations measure themselves not by grandeur, but how well they sustain life, balance resources, and foster cooperation. Spirituality and ethics embedded into everyday life suggest that culture, morality, and social cohesion are inseparable from practical achievement. In this, Mohenjo Daro offers both inspiration and caution. It demonstrates human ingenuity while warning that survival demands humility, foresight, and adaptation. Ultimately, the city's silent streets and ruined walls speak across millennia. Mohenjo Daro reminds humanity that civilization is not merely constructed with stone and brick, but through intelligence, cooperation, and respect for natural and social systems. Its quiet lessons echo in urban grids, drainage channels, communal spaces, and ritual baths, whispering insights into what it takes to organize life, harmonize with the environment, and endure as a society. Mohenjo Daro's mystery remains, calling scholars, travelers, and dreamers to listen carefully, imagine deeply, and reflect on what it means to build a sustainable, intelligent, and humane civilization. Mohenjo Daro is a city without voices, yet it speaks louder than many monuments of history. Its story transcends time, teaching that civilization is measured by order, foresight, resilience, and ethical intelligence. Its innovations in planning, technology, and spirituality remain instructive. Its decline reminds us of impermanence and the need for adaptability. Its mysteries continue to spark curiosity and reflection. And in this silent, ancient city, we find enduring lessons about what it means to live, build, and thrive in harmony with each other and with the natural world. Mohenjo Daro's legacy is eternal, a meditation on human potential, ingenuity, and the fragility and brilliance of civilization.
Mohenjo Daro stands as one of the most remarkable achievements of early human civilization, a city built with intelligence, organization, and profound respect for both community and environment. Founded over 4,000 years ago along the banks of the Indus River, it flourished at a time when monumental civilizations were emerging in Egypt and Mesopotamia. Unlike these societies, Mohenjo Daro did not rely on ostentatious displays of royal power or grand temples. Its genius was practical, embedded in the careful planning of streets, homes, and public structures. The city's layout followed a precise grid system, with broad avenues intersecting at right angles, ensuring efficient movement of people, goods, and water. Buildings were constructed with standardized baked bricks, indicating knowledge of material science and a coordinated system of production, planning, and labor. Every brick, every street, every drainage channel reflected deliberate thought, showing that the city was not a product of chance, but of sophisticated urban design. The most iconic structure, the Great Bath, demonstrates the spiritual and communal priorities of the inhabitants. A large, waterproofed pool, it may have been used for ritual cleansing, religious ceremonies, or communal gatherings, symbolizing the connection between water, life, and spiritual practice. Water management was central to the city. Hundreds of wells provided clean water to residential areas, while an elaborate drainage system ensured sanitation and public health. Wastewater flowed through covered channels beneath the streets, a sophisticated solution that predated similar systems elsewhere by millennia. These innovations reflect not only engineering skill, but also an understanding of environmental and health considerations, emphasizing that technology and morality were intertwined. Daily life in Mohenjo Daro was structured yet adaptable. Houses varied in size, reflecting social stratification, but all shared the benefits of water access, ventilation, and connection to communal streets. Artifacts reveal a society rich in craft and trade. Pottery, seals, beads, and ornaments hint at both aesthetic sensibility and economic exchange. The uniformity of weights and measures across the city implies an advanced commercial system, suggesting trade not only within Mohenjo Daro, but possibly with distant settlements along the Indus and beyond. Metalwork, including copper and bronze tools, demonstrates technical skill, while kilns and fired bricks showcase knowledge of material durability and construction. Even the city's layout reflects climate intelligence, with houses oriented to maximize airflow and public spaces designed to remain shaded and comfortable. These innovations collectively reveal a civilization that thought ahead, cared for its citizens, and harmonized human activity with environmental realities. Yet alongside these marvels lies an enduring enigma, the Indus script. Found on seals, pottery, and tablets, these symbols, brief, precise, and undeciphered, are the echoes of administrative, ritual, or possibly commercial communication. They suggest literacy and record-keeping, but remain frustratingly silent. Unlike Mesopotamia or Egypt, no bilingual inscriptions survive, and the brevity of the sequences complicates understanding. Scholars speculate about trade records, religious symbolism, or clan identifiers, yet all remain hypothetical. The absence of decipherable writing forces us to read the city's bricks, drains, and artifacts as texts themselves, carrying the knowledge, priorities, and ethos of a lost society. Mohenjo Daro thus teaches that civilization can leave powerful legacies even when its voice is lost to time. Religious and cultural life, though subtly documented, can be glimpsed through terracotta figurines, animal motifs, and seals. Female figurines suggest fertility rites, reflecting agricultural dependence and veneration of life cycles. Animal depictions, cows, elephants, the mysterious unicorn-like creature, may indicate clan symbols, spiritual beliefs, or cosmological associations. The Pashupati seal, depicting a horned figure seated in meditation among animals, hints at proto-religious practice and possibly early forms of spiritual self-discipline. Unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, Mohenjo Daro's religion seems decentralized and integrated into daily routines, not concentrated in monumental temples or priestly hierarchies. Rituals may have been performed at home, in community baths, or in small sanctuaries, emphasizing personal and collective ethics, fertility, and harmony between humans and nature. Spirituality was functional, ethical, and social, rather than ostentatious, reflecting a civilization that sought balance and sustainability over display. Trade and external connections further reveal Mohenjo Daro's sophistication. Seals found at the city indicate long-distance commerce, with inscriptions and symbols suggesting links with settlements across the Indus Valley and Mesopotamia. Goods such as beads, semi-precious stones, metals, and pottery traveled through complex networks facilitated by standardization of weights and measures. Artisans, traders, and laborers were part of a system that extended beyond local needs, demonstrating that Mohenjo Daro's influence and ingenuity reached well beyond its boundaries. Its economy was both localized and globally connected, blending craft, commerce, and civic organization into a coherent social ecosystem. Despite its brilliance, the city's decline reveals the fragility of even the most advanced societies. Geological studies indicate shifts in the Indus River, possibly altering irrigation routes and trade routes, while weakening monsoons and environmental stress may have contributed to agricultural decline. Archaeological evidence shows deterioration in construction quality, gradual abandonment of public infrastructure, and eventual migration to smaller settlements. Unlike catastrophic collapses seen in other civilizations, Mohenjo Daro's end was gradual and adaptive, reflecting resilience in the face of slow-moving challenges. Its citizens may have dispersed, seeking fertile lands, secure water sources, and more sustainable communities. Mohenjo Daro provides a lesson in the impermanence of human achievement and the importance of adaptability, foresight, and environmental awareness. Modern rediscovery adds a layer of wonder to the city's story. Excavations in the 20th century revealed intricate planning, technical skill, and aesthetic sensibilities, Streets in grids, standardized bricks, wells, baths, and granaries demonstrate a civilization older than classical Greece and rivaling Mesopotamia in urban sophistication. Preservation is urgent. Rising groundwater, salt damage, and climate threats endanger the ruins. Mohenjo Daro is not merely an archaeological site, but a classroom for engineers, urban planners, historians, and anyone seeking to understand sustainable civilization. Its legacy extends into imagination and mystery. The undeciphered script, silent streets, and enigmatic figurines invite reflection on human potential, creativity, and the limits of knowledge. Mohenjo Daro challenges assumptions about civilization, showing that innovation, cooperation, and societal intelligence can exist without monumental kings, palaces, or armies. Its story encourages humility. Civilizations may flourish, create, and leave indelible marks, yet they remain vulnerable to the passage of time, environmental change, and the delicate balance of social systems. Mohenjo Daro's lessons resonate today. Urban planning, sanitation, and community infrastructure are vital in modern cities, just as they were in this ancient metropolis. Its emphasis on communal welfare, ethical integration, and technological intelligence underscores that the greatest civilizations measure themselves not by grandeur, but how well they sustain life, balance resources, and foster cooperation. Spirituality and ethics embedded into everyday life suggest that culture, morality, and social cohesion are inseparable from practical achievement. Mohenjo Daro offers both inspiration and caution. It demonstrates human ingenuity while warning that survival demands humility, foresight, and adaptation. Ultimately, the city's silent streets and ruined walls speak across millennia. Mohenjo Daro reminds humanity that civilization is not merely constructed with stone and brick, but through intelligence, cooperation, and respect for both natural and social systems. Its quiet lessons echo in urban grids, drainage channels, communal spaces, and ritual baths, whispering insights into what it takes to organize life, harmonize with the environment, and endure as a society. Mohenjo Daro's mysteries continue to spark curiosity and reflection, inspiring generations to imagine, explore, and learn from the past. Mohenjo Daro is a city without voices, yet it speaks louder than many monuments of history. Its story transcends time, teaching that civilization is measured by order, foresight, resilience, and ethical intelligence. Its innovations in planning, technology, and spirituality remain instructive. Its decline reminds us of impermanence and the need for adaptability. Its mysteries continue to spark curiosity and reflection, and in this silent...
As centuries passed, Mohenjo Daro remained a silent testament to human ingenuity, a city where streets, homes, and baths spoke more eloquently than any written word. Its carefully laid bricks, standardized across the settlement, revealed the meticulous planning of artisans and laborers who understood the principles of order, proportion, and durability. Every aspect of the city, from the broad avenues intersecting at right angles to the precise alignment of homes with wells and drainage systems, reflected a civilization that valued practical intelligence and the collective welfare of its citizens. The Great Bath, standing at the heart of the city, was not merely an architectural marvel, but a symbol of communal life, ritual, and health. Water in Mohenjo Daro was sacred and functional, used to cleanse, nourish, and unite the community. Wells dotted every neighborhood, and sophisticated drainage channels carried wastewater away, ensuring that hygiene was a communal responsibility rather than an afterthought. In this silent city, infrastructure was morality, sanitation was civic virtue. Daily life thrived within these carefully designed spaces. Houses, though varying in size and complexity, shared common features: ventilated rooms, private courtyards, and access to water. Residents engaged in trades that required skill, patience, and artistry. Pottery,
Beadwork, metal tools, and seals reflected both the city's economic networks and its aesthetic sensibilities. Standardized weights and measures allowed fair trade and precise commerce, linking Mohenjo Daro to distant settlements along the Indus and beyond. Technology and culture were inseparable. Kilns and furnaces not only produced goods, but shaped the lives of those who tended them. The city's people understood the importance of integrating practical knowledge into daily life, blending skill, innovation, and social responsibility seamlessly. Yet despite this brilliance, Mohenjo Daro's story is also one of enduring mystery. The Indus script, etched into seals, tablets, and pottery, remains undeciphered. Its brevity and lack of bilingual context confound scholars, leaving only fragments of insight into the administration, trade, or ritual practices of the city. These silent symbols remind us that human knowledge is fragile, and that even the most advanced societies can leave questions instead of answers. Perhaps the people of Mohenjo Daro recorded their lives in ways now lost to time, in practices and traditions that cannot survive written or oral memory alone. In this absence of words, the city itself becomes a text, its streets, its baths, its bricks narrating lessons of ingenuity, cooperation, and civic responsibility. Religion and culture were equally subtle yet pervasive. Terracotta figurines, often representing fertility or nature deities, suggest reverence for the cycles of life. Animal depictions, cows, elephants, and the enigmatic unicorn motif may have held symbolic, ritual, or clan-based significance. The famous Pashupati seal, showing a horned figure in meditation surrounded by animals, hints at spiritual practices integrated into daily life rather than centralized in grand temples or under priestly authority. Rituals likely occurred in homes, baths, or small communal spaces, emphasizing a spirituality rooted in ethics, balance, and harmonious coexistence. Mohenjo Daro's religion was less about hierarchy and more about personal and social responsibility, an enduring lesson for future civilizations about the integration of morality, practice, and daily living. Trade and commerce further reveal the city's sophistication. Seals indicate connections with distant regions, while standardized weights ensured uniformity and fairness. Beads, metals, and pottery were exchanged across extensive networks, linking Mohenjo Daro to settlements hundreds of miles away. These interactions required meticulous organization, trust, and a shared understanding of measurement and value. The city's artisans, merchants, and laborers were participants in a complex system that blended economic acumen with social cohesion, creating a network that was both resilient and adaptable. This early globalization demonstrates that human ingenuity is not limited to monumental constructions or royal decrees. It thrives in cooperation, shared standards, and common purpose. Despite such achievements, Mohenjo Daro eventually faced decline. Environmental changes, including river shifts and weakening monsoons, disrupted agriculture and trade, straining the city's infrastructure. Archaeological evidence shows deterioration in construction quality, gradual abandonment of public spaces, and the subdivision of homes. Yet this decline was not abrupt or violent, it was adaptive. Citizens migrated to smaller settlements, maintaining aspects of their culture and knowledge while responding to environmental and social pressures. In this gradual transformation lies a profound lesson about the resilience of human societies. Adaptation, foresight, and flexibility are as critical to civilization as planning, technology, or artistry. Rediscovery of the city in the 20th century added a modern dimension to its legacy. Archaeologists uncovered the organized streets, sophisticated drainage, communal baths,
granaries, and standardized bricks, revealing a civilization that rivaled or surpassed contemporaneous societies in Egypt and Mesopotamia in urban planning and civic intelligence. Today, Mohenjo Daro faces new challenges. Rising groundwater, salt crystallization, and climate stress threaten the preservation of its ruins. These challenges serve as a modern reminder of the fragility of even the most enduring achievements, urging us to respect, protect, and learn from the past. The enduring mystery of Mohenjo Daro lies not only in its lost script, but in its silent streets, its empty homes, and the ingenuity embedded in its very structure. It demonstrates that innovation, cooperation, and societal intelligence can thrive without kings, armies, or monumental displays of power. The city's story challenges assumptions about what makes a civilization successful, showing that sustainability, community, and ethical integration can be as valuable as conquest or grandeur. Its lessons resonate deeply. Intelligence without wisdom, technology without responsibility, or culture without balance is incomplete. Modern scholars, engineers, and planners continue to study Mohenjo Daro not merely as an archaeological site, but as a source of insight into sustainable urban life. Its grid streets, sanitation systems, community spaces, and water management remain instructive for contemporary city design. The integration of ethical, practical, and spiritual principles into daily life exemplifies a civilization where human activity and environmental awareness were inseparable. Its story offers a meditation on how humanity can build societies that endure without sacrificing harmony with nature or the collective welfare of its citizens. Contemplating Mohenjo Daro, one is struck by the delicate balance of brilliance and fragility, ingenuity and impermanence. The city's silent streets remind us that no achievement, however sophisticated, is immune to environmental, social, or temporal pressures. Yet in its innovations, its ethical urban planning, and its cultural richness, Mohenjo Daro continues to speak across millennia. It teaches humility, foresight, and the enduring importance of cooperation, adaptability, and respect for the environment. Ultimately, Mohenjo Daro's story is a meditation on the potential and limitations of human civilization. Its innovations in planning, trade, technology, and spirituality endure as lessons. Its decline warns of impermanence and vulnerability. Its mysteries spark curiosity, imagination, and reflection. The city, though silent, continues to inspire awe, study, and reverence. Its legacy persists, guiding future generations in understanding that true civilization is measured not by conquest or grandeur, but by the ability to harmonize intelligence, ethics, and environmental stewardship into daily life. Mohenjo Daro remains eternal, a silent teacher, a testament to human potential, and a reminder that even the greatest achievements require care, foresight, and respect to endure.
As the sun sets over the ancient ruins of Mohenjo Daro, its silent streets, weathered bricks, and empty baths speak volumes to those willing to listen. The city, though long abandoned, continues to offer lessons in human ingenuity, resilience, and the fragility of civilization. From its meticulously planned grid streets to the uniformity of its bricks and the sophistication of its drainage systems, Mohenjo Daro reflects the remarkable capacity of humans to organize, innovate, and cooperate for the common good. The Great Bath, wells, and canals tell us not only about practical engineering, but also about the integration of daily life with ritual, hygiene, and social cohesion. Every corner of the city, every stone laid in precision, communicates a story of civic responsibility, foresight, and a respect for both human and environmental systems. The mysteries of Mohenjo Daro persist,
particularly in the form of the undeciphered Indus script, which continues to elude scholars despite decades of study. Its inscriptions, brief and enigmatic, hint at a complex system of administration, trade, or ritual, yet their true meaning remains a secret. This silence encourages reflection. Civilizations may leave physical legacies, but knowledge, beliefs, and personal lives are often ephemeral. The city itself becomes a living text, written in bricks, streets, baths, and artifacts, narrating the values, priorities, and ingenuity of a society that balanced technological skill with social consciousness. Religious practices and cultural expressions were subtly embedded in the rhythms of daily life. Terracotta figurines, animal motifs, and the horned, meditating figure of the Pashupati seal suggest a spiritual framework that valued harmony, fertility, and ethical living. Rituals were integrated into the homes, baths, and communal spaces, emphasizing morality and balance rather than hierarchy or spectacle. In Mohenjo Daro, spirituality was inseparable from civic life. It guided behavior, reinforced cooperation, and created social cohesion without the need for grand temples or ruling elites. These practices remind us that true culture is lived, not merely proclaimed. Trade, commerce, and technological innovation further demonstrate the sophistication of this civilization. Standardized weights and measures facilitated fair trade across distant regions, while artisans, metal workers, and craftspersons produced goods that were both functional and aesthetically pleasing. Mohenjo Daro participated in extensive economic networks that connected it to other settlements along the Indus and possibly to Mesopotamia. Its economy was both locally sustained and globally connected, reflecting an advanced understanding of commerce, organization, and interdependence. These networks show that a civilization's reach and influence depend not only on power or conquest, but also on intelligence, cooperation, and ethical participation in broader systems. Yet even the most advanced civilization cannot escape the effects of environmental change and social strain. Shifting river courses, weakening monsoons, and pressures on agriculture contributed to Mohenjo Daro's gradual decline. Evidence shows that homes were subdivided, public structures fell into disrepair, and population centers migrated to smaller settlements. The city's end was not sudden, it was adaptive, reflecting resilience and pragmatic responses to environmental and societal stress. This teaches a timeless lesson. Survival depends on flexibility, foresight, and the willingness to adapt, even for the most brilliant societies. The rediscovery of Mohenjo Daro in the 20th century revived its story, offering the modern world a glimpse into a civilization that rivaled ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia in planning and ingenuity. Archaeologists revealed streets in perfect grids, advanced water management, standardized bricks, and communal baths, all evidence of a society that prioritized collective welfare, innovation, and sustainability. Preservation challenges, including groundwater damage and climate threats, underscore the fragility of material achievements and the need to protect human heritage. In this, Mohenjo Daro is both a cautionary tale and an inspiration. Mohenjo Daro's enduring legacy lies in the lessons it imparts about human potential and human responsibility. Its innovations in urban planning, sanitation, trade, and craft reveal a civilization capable of remarkable foresight and organization. Its integration of ethics, spirituality, and community demonstrates that human progress is measured not only by technology or conquest, but by the ability to create sustainable, harmonious societies. The city's decline reminds us of impermanence, yet its structures, artifacts, and mysteries continue to guide, teach, and inspire. In reflecting on Mohenjo Daro, one senses a quiet wisdom emanating from its ruins. Civilization is fragile, yet ingenuity endures. Cooperation, Foresight and respect for the environment are as critical as technology and planning. Spirituality, ethics, and communal responsibility give purpose and coherence to human achievement. Mohenjo Daro shows that cities, when built with thought, care, and consideration for all aspects of life, can leave lessons that echo millennia later. Its silent streets are a meditation on the possibilities of civilization, a reminder that true greatness lies not in grandeur, but in balance, foresight, and harmonious living. Ultimately, Mohenjo Daro's story is timeless. Its mysteries, innovations, and silent streets call us to imagine, reflect, and learn. The city whispers lessons about human creativity, the importance of ethical societies, and the necessity of living in harmony with nature and each other. Its brilliance, its decline, and its legacy combine into a powerful narrative. Civilization is a fragile but beautiful experiment, capable of extraordinary achievement when guided by intelligence, foresight, and collective responsibility. Mohenjo Daro may stand in ruins, yet its message endures, inviting each generation to build, live, and thrive with wisdom, humility, and care. As the final echoes of this ancient city reach across millennia, we are reminded that history is not only a record of what has been, but also a guide for what can be. Mohenjo Daro teaches that the greatest achievements are those that balance human ingenuity with compassion, foresight, and respect for the natural world. In the quiet of its ruined streets, its silent baths, and its undeciphered symbols, we hear the enduring voice of a civilization that continues to inspire, caution, and illuminate the path of human endeavor. And in that lesson, Mohenjo Daro lives on, not as a lost city, but as an eternal teacher, a meditation on the brilliance, fragility, and timeless possibilities of human civilization.